Lewis Hamilton's bombshell move to Ferrari made everybody question whether or not this will be followed by a mass exodus of engineers to the Maranello team. And we've just received the answer to this question. While it was originally believed that the 7-time world champion could bring anyone he sees fit, as Ferrari also opened their arms for the Mercedes-bound engineers, it seems like this mission has seen a massive halt. And this changes everything when it comes to the 2025 season for Ferrari. But how are Mercedes engineers affected by Hamilton's contract with the Brackley-based squad? And more importantly, is this changing the narrative of the future for both teams? It's safe to say that Hamilton's move to Ferrari was one you could easily label as the most earth-shattering one in the history of the sport. But the aftermath of it was suspected to be a lot worse. For example, when a superstar of Hamilton's caliber decides to leave the team with which he won 6 drivers and 7 constructors championships, there is also the question of who comes along with him. Naturally, the race engineer is the #1 guy that you automatically presume would follow the driver's move. And apart from him, the ones who have been unsatisfied with the work that has been done in Brackley regarding developing the car in a certain direction were also rumoured to leave, such as Riccardo Mosconi, the current head of trackside performance for Mercedes. But this is very unlikely to happen in 2025, because even though the clause of Hamilton's contract allowed him to leave the Brackley-based squad from that season on, it has a non-poach clause for the rest of the team, more precisely, the engineers that he would like to take with him. What this essentially means is that the rumours that Motorsport Italia initially put in the public, such as Hamilton taking Bono and Mosconi along with him, as well as massive contingent of engineers that work beneath these 2 high-profile members of the Brackley-based squad, are not true. An official report stated that Hamilton is only able to leave Mercedes on his own. Why does this change everything in Hamilton's future with Ferrari? Obviously, he would have wanted to start the 2025 season with his old friend and racing engineer Peter Bonington, also known as Bono. But Peter has a contract that is binding him with Mercedes until the end of the 2025 season, similar to the one Hamilton had before he activated the clause that enabled him to leave for Ferrari. Unlike him, Bono is not able to leave the team without any penalties. Quite the contrary. Even when his contract ends, he would have to enter a period of gardening leave in which he would still receive the full pay salary from Mercedes, but won't be able to join another team as a consequence. This changes a lot when it comes to Hamilton's first season with Ferrari, and the fact that he would find himself lonely in an environment that is mostly keen on working with Leclerc. Of course, he can definitely prove everybody wrong by outperforming the Monegasque driver since the first joint season as teammates in 2025. But considering the amount of knowledge that Leclerc has with Ferrari, and the fact that he's the homeboy of the Maranello team, does make things a bit difficult for Hamilton. Reports coming from Italy stated that Ferrari would be very happy to accept any type of engineer from Mercedes they see fit, because after all, these are the people who worked heavily on the success of the Silver Arrows from 2014 to 2021. High-profile staff poaches happen all the time, but the clause in Hamilton's contract is more or less the same that Red Bull applied to Vettel's contract back in 2014, and when he activated it, he couldn't have taken some of his most favourite people from Red Bull to Ferrari. But does this mean that Ferrari won't get the signatures of these engineers in the foreseeable future? This is very unlikely to be the case, because if we're to look at how things stand at Mercedes, there is a group of engineers who are currently unhappy with how the situation is currently unfolding when it comes to developing the car. This was the primary reason why Loic Serra left in the first place, and even the return of James Allison at the position of technical director of the team did not help in persuading him back in the team. So right now, he's on the gardening leave, but is still committed on the Ferrari project, one that will start from 2025 for him. Just like Serra, this could be very well the case for Bono. And as Toto Wolff said, he knows it's inevitable that at a certain point after Hamilton's departure, both he and Peter would have to discuss the future of the engineer in the team, because unlike the rest of the high-profile engineers in Mercedes, the position of Bono means that you're much closer to the driver than you are to the team. When talking about this matter, Wolff said, "I think Bono's future is a discussion which everyone needs to have in the months to come. And as much as I've spoken with Bono lately, when I told him about Hamilton's move, he said, 'Is it April the 1st? That's something which we will discuss in the future.'" But even though the no-poach clause in Hamilton's contract prevents engineers and high-profile staff from leaving Mercedes immediately, it doesn't mean that Wolff and the rest of the company will have an easy task of convincing them that Ferrari might not be the best move in their career. 2024 will be a season in which everybody expects Russell and Hamilton to be aggressively fighting for solid positions on the grid, as both have nothing to lose. And one very important aspect that Mercedes can use in persuading the engineers to remain in Mercedes is do exactly this: provide both of its drivers in 2024 with a championship-winning car. Although this sounds like a bit of a far-fetched scenario after Hamilton's move to Ferrari, with Wolff debunking the theory that the 7-time world champion left after trying out the W15, there is still a chance that all of the changes Mercedes are working on, such as the new chassis, floor and gearbox in tune with the new design and philosophy of the car, will work wonders and will bring back the glory to the Brackley-based squad. Winning one race in 2 seasons is definitely not what you want to witness after being constantly on the top, and while Mercedes improved from P3 to P2 compared from 2022 to 2023, it's still not enough. If they're not winning races, anything else is considered a loss. When talking about this matter, Wolff acknowledged the risk of having engineers leaving the team and then having no way to stop it other than proving that the car can win races and be competitive. Paradoxically enough, 2024 might be the best season in which Mercedes will be able to prove to their engineers that they're on the right track, because it's the last season in which they'll have the super duo of Russell and Hamilton, who will be able to show whether or not the engineers have done a good job in terms of developing the car in the right direction. As Ralf Schumacher stated, if the team fails to build a competitive machinery in 2024, then it's very likely that there's an organic problem in the team that needs to be solved by completely reconstructing the team. But that's a scenario that Mercedes would want to avoid no matter what. When talking about the departing engineers as well as the driver's input to the car, Wolff was adamant that everything is in their hands, further adding, "In terms of the development going forward, I think this is something which we need to look at. The regulations stay pretty much the same. When it comes to 2025, we will evaluate later in the season what it means in terms of technical information, but that's not something that bothers me at all. We have engineers that leave us and go to other teams, and the notice periods are sometimes as short as 6 months. So I don't have any doubt in Lewis's integrity in terms of sharing information. But then again, having a strong duo of drivers definitely allows the engineers to enjoy in more feedback, which might not be the scenario from 2025 onwards, because even though Mercedes will have the hottest seat they can provide to any driver on the grid, the choices they have to replace a legend and icon like Hamilton are very thin. Someone like Vettel and Alonso definitely have the potential to fill in the shoes of the 7-time world champion, and as Wolff acknowledged, the team won't be shy to even reach out to Verstappen. But what they must do is prove that they have the championship-winning machinery in their hands. If they're able to prove this by steadily following up on their progress in 2024 and 2025, and then make a solid boom in 2026 when the engine regulations are bound to favour Mercedes and Ferrari much more than they did in 2022 due to them revolving around the performance of the engine rather than the aerodynamics of the car, then the team would set no limits as to who is bound to replace Hamilton's shoes. Adding to this matter even further, Wolff went on to say, "We will always try to have the best possible combination in our car and seek out these discussions. You can see how quickly the situation can change. At the same time, we respect contracts that exist. Drivers always want to be in the fastest car. It's up to us to demonstrate that we can build the fastest car, not just in the short and medium term, but also in the long term. This will then lead to opportunities. The ball is in our court." The mission for Mercedes couldn't be louder and clearer. Build a championship-winning car in the following years and make sure that you convince your engineers that you're finally on the right track. Despite this mission being more or less made impossible by Hamilton's move, there is a lot at stake here, and apart from Bono, this could mean that highly valued engineers like Riccardo Mosconi would also leave the team, enlarging the dent that Hamilton has left by leaving Mercedes. With this in mind, do you think that the engineers will follow Hamilton's move once they have freedom to do so? Let us know in the comments below, and if interested, click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.